Thank you so much, Ms. Holte, for such an insightful session. Moving on with the speaker sessions, now we have next session titled From Dock to Deep Seas, Norwegian Technologies Powering Modern Vessels. This session highlights advanced Norwegian maritime technologies supporting shipbuilding and vessel operations. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Nandan Tavanandi and Mr. Shubham Kumar Singh from Varya Tech Private Limited. Mr. Nandan is a director at Varya Tech and Synchrolift India with over 4 decades of experience across maritime defense shipbuilding and sectors. Joining him is Mr. Shubham Kumar Singh, Vice President at Varya Tech Private Limited, an alumnus of IM Ahmedabad. He leads business strategy, operations, and partnerships of Varya Tech. Over to the speakers.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'll start with the Varya presentation, then I'll hand it over to Mr. Nandan Tavanandi, who will take you through Synchrolift, one of our joint ventures. Most companies in maritime talk about products. We focus on outcomes. Today, I'll take you from dock to deep sea and show how one partner can support the entire journey. Earlier today, in this afternoon, during the panel discussion, it was discussed that how earlier stages of involvement of all stakeholders is key to successful shipbuilding development in India, and that's what we do, upstream and downstream collaboration. This is where Varya fits in the role perfectly. And this we have been doing since 1942 with a strong local execution collaboration, and we have given results to all stakeholders, including shipyards, ship owners, designers, and the end users. So who we are? We are Indian partners for European maritime technology, or rather I'll say global maritime technology. We are in the market for past 8 decades. We have acted as bridge between global OEMs and Indian shipyards, as integrators, partners, life cycle support, with successful collaborations like, earlier in the day, Mr. Uday Natu gave a presentation on Marinor, which is one of the successful joint ventures we have got in India back in 2008, I believe. And recently we have a successful collaboration of Synchrolift. Even just now you heard about Kongsberg Maritime, which was one of the successful collaboration which Varya Tech has done from the Norwegian companies. We are not just only suppliers, we are also execution partners. The real challenge in this industry starts, people say, after commissioning. But today we all heard that because India is developing in terms of shipbuilding industry, it has challenges not only just after the contract is closed, when the shipyards in India need a lot of hand holding, and that's where Varya plays an important role. We have more than 150 plus team in India supporting that activity, where we are involved right from the design of the vessel. We can help the designers with a lot of information which is useful for their improving, or as Anil Das sir was saying, removing fuzziness from the design. it's very important that OEM collaboration is done from the start. But again, installation, commissioning, this is not the end of it. What we have to focus more is also about the life cycle support. And one of the strong suit of Varya is that with our 120 plus engineers, we can provide this service to all of our OEMs which we represent. As I said, we just don't supply systems. We ensure that they are integrated properly, they perform, and they sustain for the life. So coming back to the topic of the year, or let's say for past 5 years, localization. Make in India is not an optional thing right now. It is mandatory. Varya can ensure that global technology is delivered successfully in India, and all those ways how we can do it is all mentioned here. So I'm not going to read out all those points because everybody is aware what are the mode and modalities can be achieved or done. But again, Varya can deliver the global technology to Indian market. Now I'll quickly walk you through all the OEM ecosystem which we represent from Norway. Again, Varya represent more than 30 odd brands, global brands, but today we'll only focus on some of the key Norwegian brands which we represent. First one, Indo. We have been working with them for past 15 years. We have supplied their systems to various shipyards, including Cochin Shipyard. Their system is very, I'll say, their system is very important for the navigational backup system, which is a critical component of the vessel, and this fits in all types and sorts of vessel, including defense, offshore, merchant ships. Next up, Aeron, which we have been representing again for more than a decade. This HVAC system generally goes with a package with a company like Marinor or Maritime Monitoring, who are doing complete outfitting, accommodation of the vessel. Again, ideal for all types, all sort of vessels which requires an accommodation these days, including for remote operated vessels. Air Products. This relationship goes back 4 decades with Varya. It's a very important and I'll say one of the critical equipment which every vessel needs to have, including tanker, and now market shifting to dual fuel usage and LNG vessels. I'm sure we are going to have more inquiries for this kind of systems to be delivered in India. And yes, obviously we recently delivered few systems to Cochin Shipyard. Going back, another OEM from Norway, Framo. Framo is a global leader in pumping system. Everybody knows that. They are widely used in offshore platform, rigs and FPSOs. Varya, or I'll say Framo, has supplied some of these very large cavern pumps to strategic oil reserves in India, and there are obviously many more plans of developing these strategic oil reserves given the global geopolitical situations and what's happening in Middle East. We all know that this is the need of the self-sufficient energy. Coming out of that, we also have a company called Imenco. Imenco, again, the relationship goes back a decade. We have supplied a lot of equipment on board naval vessels, defense projects. They are into subsea cameras and surveillance system, and with DG shipping coming up with AI-based closed circuit monitoring of the vessel. I'm sure this will be one of the product which we will be focusing more for the merchant segment of our customer base. Going forward, we have John Jerde. The association is about 2 decades. Their system has been supplied to all of the shipyards in India. We have done great amount of business for them. They have provide tank venting and safety systems. Again, these are required across all types of vessels, especially tankers and offshore vessels. Coming to now one of our recent addition, I'll say, Kongsberg Discovery, earlier known under Kongsberg Maritime since 2022-23. Kongsberg Discovery came into existence as a separate entity, and everybody knows they are global leader of into subsea mapping, navigation, and communication systems. We are currently working with them on various opportunities, including research vessel being built at Titagarh. These these systems, they go on especially on research vessels, naval vessels, and offshore survey vessels. Now coming back to MacGregor. So our relation with MacGregor officially started back with MacGregor in 2018, but we have been partnered with companies which eventually was taken over by MacGregor long before we started our relations with MacGregor. MacGregor currently has approximately 40,000 odd, or installed on 40,000 odd ships, which is about 1/4 of the global population of equipments. We represent MacGregor in all segments, but MacGregor Norway especially handles their fisheries equipment, which we currently are doing some opportunity with research vessels in India, being built across India. So this, we all know, we had a presentation from Uday sir already. This partnership is also about 20 years now. There was a need of world class accommodation system, and that's where earlier Norinco, now Varya, stepped in. We went out, found a partner in Norway, brought them to India, and now they are one of the successful accommodation company in India who has delivered, or which is delivering, a lot of esteemed projects like Indian aircraft carrier as well. And you have heard all about from Uday sir about it, so I am not going to take too much time on that. Another OEM which we have is Maritime Partner. They are very much into aluminium hull boats, daughter craft, rescue crafts. We have been associated with them for past 7 years now. We are actively working for them in India, and we are kind of almost on the verge of securing some projects for them as well. This is the latest addition which we had since 2025, and Nuvar Maritime just came out of Kongsberg Maritime. They already have a lot of installation thanks to good work done by Kongsberg Maritime and Rolls-Royce salespeople in past. They are one of the OEMs which we are going to represent and do sales and after sales for them. They have been providing steering gear and rudder systems, ideal for all sorts of vessels. As we know, without all conventional propulsion vessel will have steering and rudder system. Coming now to Team Tech, it's part of an IMS group representing them for more than 2 or 3 decades now. They are big time into incinerators and ejectors. This is one of the latest, addition to Varya 2025. We started representing them with world moving towards cleaner and greener ships. Need of the hour is waste heat recovery systems. Almatype can provide those systems, and again, this is beneficial for all sort of vessels which we build in India. Now I'll let Mr. Nandan talk about more about Synchro Lift, but with closing remarks, I'll just only say that we bring global technology, local execution, and life cycle support, and from dock to deep sea, we sustain systems. Nandan sir, over to you.
Yes, good. Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. Yes.
Honored to be here. Good evening, and thank you, Shubham, for handing over the baton. I'm Nandan, as he has already given my name. I'm director in both Syncolift as well as Varya Tech, but today I'll be talking only about Syncolift, which was established in India about 2 years back. Syncolift is today one of the top docking solution providers. So today I'll be speaking more about the shipyard infrastructure and not actually the ship equipment or the other aspects of the shipbuilding. Syncolift has been market leader with about 60 to 70% market share over the last 13-14 years for shiplift and transfer system. 250 plus shiplift installation worldwide since 1966 or around that time. In India, our installation base is 5 numbers, starting from 6,500 up to 33,000 ton shiplifts. I am specifically putting this 33,000 ton here. Unfortunately, the shipyard applied for bankruptcy when it was just partly commissioned, unfortunately. But however, we are putting it here because every time we meet a new shipbuilder, they are asking us what the largest size we can make. And that size could be actually anything, but here in India itself, we have a 33,000 ton shiplift capacity built, which was just about to be commissioned when the company went bankrupt. But the ship transfer system of ABG, of course, was commissioned. Almost for 1 or 2 years it was operating. One of the features with shiplift, apart from docking solutions, is also shipbuilding. The transfer system of ship transfer system, can be used for aligning the sections of the ship. So that is one aspect which is little away from docking solutions, but that should be known that is a part of shipbuilding equipment and also shiplifts and for repair and new build systems. This gives us the overview of what all we do, Syncolift does. Some of them I'll be detailing more often, but you can see the ship transfer system between all the green color or the turquoise color equipment are basically engineered by Syncolift, except for the floating dock. The floating dock itself is not made by Syncolift, but we help the floating dock owners for transfer of ships from floating dock to the land, which is one of the preferred docking solutions for many of the shipyards, because then you don't invest in a huge, specifically when in the cyclic market, floating dock happens to have a much larger market share among shipyards. That's what we have found in last about 10-12 years. The other one very interesting thing, I am going to actually the main products are ship lift and transfer system, but we are also shown two or three other deliverables, which is waste slipway. I'll be talking more about it. So I'll actually go to the individual products so that you have a better insight into those products. There's another question which is asked very often, and I think there's a mindset where it's generally thought that ship lifts are made for a smaller ships. But here, what we have shown in ABG itself is one of the examples where a 33,000 ton ship was to be docked, where the platform size was, the breadth of the platform was about 42 meters by 250 meters long. So it actually is not a limitation at all for Syncolift to dock or build a ship lift for any size. Maybe except for the last VLCC, perhaps people will not go for a ship lift. It is more for the commercial reasons, but not for the technical reasons. There are 2-3 types of ship lifts, and basically to match whatever the layout a particular yard will have. You can see the 3 types is typical. These are not from India, but they are the 3 types of ship lifts where there is a longitudinal transfer from the ship lift to the land. Then there is a sideways transfer in the lower one there, and also here. So you can have, depending on the space available and the waterfront available, you can either go for one of them. And one of the additional support that Syncolift gives is also for the layout of the shipyard, for the shipyard logistics, which means bringing the sections from your shops to the assembly or etc. You can have, I'll anyway cover those particular equipment in the next slides. Here there are 2 different ways of ship transfer. One is the rail-based, which rail-based transfer system can actually match the lifting capacity or transfer capacity to the ship lift. So whatever the ship lift can lift, a rail transfer will be capable of transferring those ships to the land. And when you have a transfer system with the rail network, and the number of boats will actually decide how many ships you can service at a time, whether it is for ship repair or it could be for new builds. On the right, you see something called flex trolleys, which is a bridge between SPMTs and the rail-based system. Here it is a tire-based system. This can go for ships of a load curve from up to about 100 tons per meter. So you can imagine most of the ships that are built today in India are less than that. So they can actually also go for this, but we need to go into a little detail because the tires which are being used in the flex trolleys, they have a capability of or load bearing capacity of 50 to 60 tons per wheel. So once we get the ship details, we can actually confirm whether you can go for a ship transfer by tire based system. One other very important aspect, today we find that Syncolift actually had carried out a survey with about 40 shipyards who had gone for shipyard infrastructure. Out of that, around 50% went for a floating dock, and that is mainly because of the sale value that they get. And in this kind of uncertain life cycle, I mean the cycle business of shipbuilding, sometimes it is more economic to go for floating dock. But we help them in transferring, and if you have the rails or the large area, we can get transfer. More important, there is a difference between transfer between ship lift and floating dock, because ship lift is actually mechanically locked once it is leveled with the land, whereas floating dock always remains floating. So one needs to be very careful. It's a dynamic situation when you move the ship from the land to the floating dock or the reverse way. So you need to keep deballast and ballasting the floating dock depending upon from where to where you are actually moving. So that the whole control is given by Syncolift. These are two from Brazil, and I think these are Baku, one of them, shipyard. And those are all much larger, around 18,000. This could be a smaller ones, but it can. We have given the transfer system for even for 18,000 ton lightweight ship. This is another. This is sort of slipway. Is an advanced slipway, I can call it, and a controlled operation possible here. And this again can, I would say, replace, especially when you have shallow waters. This particular solution is extremely useful and much economic. Here, specifically, as you see, the ship always remains even keel, and once you align with the land, you can transfer it anywhere you want. And again, it can be by rail system or a tire-based system. So basically, it is the land space that is available that you can have. I show next picture that will put more light on that. This broadly explains the difference between ship lift and transfer system as a docking solution compared to floating dock or a graving dock, which is a conventional. Almost for 200-300 years, people have been building floating docks. I mean, the ships are built in the floating dock. Here, as you see on the right side, it is like 3 lanes getting into one, or more lanes getting into one lane when you go for a floating dock or a graving dock. Whereas the ship lift actually acts only as a transit point, not really limiting yourself. As long as you have a repair berths, you can, as many you can actually dock and do your work, repair berths or a new build berths. This is one good example where they have achieved dockings of almost 4 vessels per day, or I would say, as you mentioned, it is a 600 vessels per day. The contract was taken by Syncolift to improve the efficiency of this DMC, the Dubai Maritime city, where originally in 24 they were normally docking 600 vessels, which means docking and docking almost 1200 operations every year. So you can imagine per day how many dockings or undockings are taking place. This is a place where the customer, the DMC, is very keen to invite any other shipyards to see their operations, and we are all inviting you. Whoever is interested, you can actually go there and you can see the docking and undocking operations, how fast they do and how economically and efficiently they do. Here actually we have 2 floating docks, ship lifts, one about 3,000 ton, the other one is for 6,000 ton, and they have 42 berths, repair berths. So this is the largest ship repair yard in the world. One more aspect of this solution could be good for the Indians now going for, I won't say large shipyards, but at the same time increase the volume of ship production. We also call it as a common user facility. Here, this facility is owned by one entity and it is actually used by ship repairers. They come for a certain time for there and they go out. It means there are 2 separate entities. Shipyard, the facility owner only manages or maintains the facility, and the repairers only come there for repairing the ship. They don't own this. So it's a very economic model which perhaps would be quite useful in India. Now I am actually going to one more third vertical, and the second vertical, the docking and the docking solution. But here we are talking about fast docking solutions. This is a small shipyard of just 1100 ton ship capacity, lifting capacity. You can see how clean and neat the whole system is. This is in north of Norway. Below the ship, you see the the keel line, which is actually a part of the platform, and even you don't need the other supports, which are wood blocks, etc. And those are actually the total Syncolift offerings, which we call as side support arms for the ships, where as the ship is coming up on the platform, it is already centering the ship, and when it comes up, it is holding it. Whereas when you see into the next picture, will show you. You can see a typical picture here. This is actually a floating dock where people are spending, the workmen are spending time on locating the docks, blocks, and things like that. Whereas in the other one, you see the neatness of the whole system, which actually means efficiency also. This particular yard, a captain decides to dock, and he can be docking the ship within 1 hour of his requirement. Whereas the other places, many places, the yard has to prepare for a ship to be docked. There are other types of docking. You see from the top, the middle one and the right one, there are two other types of dock, which call it side support arms, or we call it bill support arms, which are a part of Syncolift deliverables. And you don't need to actually invest into separate dock block making a group for that, because, and you can imagine how much time saving will be there when you have these systems. In India, we have been trying to promote it, but only now, last about 6 months, we have actually given a trial in Mumbai Naval Dock. The trials are not complete, but we have delivered a set of bill support arms on an NCNC basis so that they can appreciate how it operates. And let us see about in the next 1 or 2 months, perhaps we will have the final trial of docking. Now the trials are made only in the operation, but actual operation below the ship will be done sometimes in next 1 or 2 months. Yeah, on the right bottom you see a propeller puller, again of Syncolift make, which can do the job in about 6-7 hours, or maybe one shift or little more than a shift. Whereas the present procedures of removal of propeller and the shaft could be stretching over maybe a week. I don't know. The experts are here; they should be telling me what will be the actual time. I think this is my last slide. Here we are talking about the same dry docking facilities. It could be floating dock, it could be a graving dock, or a ship lift. We are just kind of giving you an idea with our docking solutions and the fast docking solutions. The docking time for ship lift is about 2 hours maximum. For in the graving dock, it is about 24 hours, and for the floating dock is about 4 to 5 hours, about 8 hours, 6 hours, I think, it's not 8 hours, but about 6 hours. With this, I am actually closing. Any questions we can always discuss right now or during the evening sessions. So, thank you.